Okay, to get started, we're going to need to cut a piece of fabric off of this sheet that you already have. You'll just need a pair of scissors, a pencil, ruler, and this fabric. This is my practice kind of scrap one. It's covered in cat hair, and I didn't finish it, but you can see the grid, and that should be the same grid that you have. I'm going to slide it over so that you can see all this extra fabric that we have here. This is what we're going to use. So you're going to take a ruler, and this edge should actually be perfectly straight because that's how it came off the roll. I'm going to line up the number 5 with the edge of the fabric, make a mark at 0, slide my ruler up. I actually already drew it right here. So again, 5 inches right here, 0, make a mark. And then take a ruler straight edge and connect those lines. Perfect. And then take your scissors and we're going to cut. Now everyone's fabric is, slightly different, but and now this piece I can just put away. We don't need it. We're focusing on this. So everyone's is like a different length this way, which is fine. Like mine's about 12 inches long, 12 inches. But if yours is longer or shorter, it really doesn't matter. What we're going to do at this step is now we're going to fold the fabric roughly in half. Like the ends might not match up right here, but the sides should. So pay attention to the sides here, and then press. And what's nice is that this fabric actually has a paper backing. So when you fold this, it's almost more like folding paper. So it makes like a nice crease, which is good because normally when you are sewing any sort of garment, you do want to use like an iron and press all of your folds and all of your seams. And you might not have an iron, so this is a good solution for this. Now, we are going to open this back up again and then peel off the paper. And some of you might be like me where it's already starting to peel off, which is fine. And then what's nice is that even now that we've peeled the paper off, there's still a little bit of that crease there, like remembers that fold. Okay, so that's how we're gonna get started. Now, before you even put pins in the side here, we're going to measure what's called the seam allowance. And the seam allowance is basically a little bit of room that you allow yourself so that you're not stitching directly on the edge of your fabric. Because if you notice, like little pieces of the woven fabric come off. So it's not smart to put your stitches really close to the edge. You actually are going to want to give yourself some room. So I'm going to zoom in here and make a mark at 1/4 inch. Come up here. Now it's crucial that the edges of your fabric here are roughly lined up. Like if my fabric was like this, it wouldn't work. Or if it was like hanging off like that wouldn't work. So you do want to try and like line those up, and pinning will help with that too. But for now I made a mark at 1/4 inch, get my ruler, draw a line. Okay. And this is called seam allowance. In some, I must said recipes, in some directions for sewing certain garments, they might tell you to have a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. For today, I think 1/4 inch is totally fine. So in order to keep this in place, we're going to pin. And these pins are inside your sewing kit. They have these little iridescent balls on the ends of them. And hopefully, it's less likely to lose them. Don't lose this bag. You're only going to need 2 for this step. And basically, like this edge is folded, so we don't have to worry about that. But we want to keep these 2 pieces of fabric together and in place. So I'm going to take a pin. I'm going to push through both pieces of fabric like that. Kind of turn it and then push through. So that's how you pin your fabric. I'm going to do that at least twice here. Okay, it does look a little bit different if you are using a sewing machine. You would put your needles in a little bit differently, but for hand stitching, this is how you want to do that. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over here as well. And you might actually want to measure the seam allowance also while we're at it before we put the pins in. Just once you put the pins in, it's a little harder to keep your ruler flat. You know, it's just something else that's like bumpy. So I'm going to connect these lines. Okay, because we're going to be doing, well, some of us are going to be doing a running stitch on this line, and we're going to do a back stitch on this line. So I just have 2 lines prepped and ready, and now they are also pinned. So the fabric will stay in place when I'm stitching and not be flapping around. Now the top I'm going to leave unpinned because I'm not going to sew up here just yet. But this kind of is like where you want to start at.